G'day guys, how are ya? Hope you're all doing very well, having a splendid day, whatever time of day it might be in your part of the world. Here in Australia it's bloody freezing, it's wet, so it's a pretty miserable afternoon slash early evening, so I thought what better way to spend a miserable day than to do a video for you all. So to prevent myself from being too boring, I'm not going to do a review today. Now, don't worry, I'm going to keep doing reviews, but today I thought I'd be doing something completely different. I'm going to give you a history in horror films in my life. Now, I've chosen 3 horror movies that have shaped my horror movie experience. Basically, films that got me into it and films that brought me back into it. So I'm going to start off as a child. When I was around 8 or 9, the most hardcore I got was basically Gremlins. So you can kind of tell... you could kind of imagine how shocked I was when I come across the film I'm about to show off. Now, when I was about 8 or 9, my father was a big fan of this movie, and that is The Exorcist. Now, I had no idea what this movie was about. There was a lot of buzz surrounding it. My father was telling me how much it would scare me if I watched it, because I was a little bit curious in it. It was a VHS tape back then, and I was asking my dad about it because, as I said, I was into horror, but Gremlins is pretty much as hardcore as I got. So my father banned me from this movie. He said, I'm not going to allow you to watch this movie ever. So I was a little bit disappointed, and from that banning, it kind of brought a lot of curiosity about it. So I really wanted to see this, but my dad kept it away from me. So one day, my father and my older brother were watching it in the lounge room, and I was supposed to be asleep, and I pretended I was asleep. But this is where I snuck into the lounge room, and I hid behind the couch. And in the couch, there was a little crack where one chair met the other, and I watched it. And I can say that it scarred me for life, and I could see why my dad didn't want me to watch this, because it gave me nightmares for ages. I just couldn't get out of my mind where the head turns around. And that just freaked me out, and I was just completely gobsmacked. I didn't want to say to my mum that I was scared because of this movie, because I wasn't supposed to be watching it. So I kept that a secret, and it scarred me, but it kind of just got me more interested in the horror genre. So this is really where it started for me. This is the real true horror experience that took place in my life, and it's probably the reason why I wanted to go further into horror. So I'll never forget this movie, and for that, it has a very special place for me. It scared the living bejesus out of me. It still does, but it's a very sentimental kind of film, and it's not the type of film I would say let your 8 or 9-year-old watch. But I was a little prick back then, and I didn't do what I was told. So I watched the movie. I paid the consequences big time for it. It wasn't a case of bad parenting. It was just a case of me being a little smartass, thinking I knew what I was getting myself in for, but I had no idea. So The Exorcist really is, for me, what started my love for the horror genre. So we go to our second movie. Now, after The Exorcist, I thought nothing will compare it as far as scaring quality is concerned. Not only is it a shocking movie, that was scary. So many years passed, I thought I was pretty hardcore at it, thinking, yeah, I'm not going to be scared ever again, nothing's going to live up to The Exorcist. Then I come across a Stephen King adaptation. This has a character named Zelda that scared the living bejesus out of me once again. And as soon as I saw this movie, Pet Sematary, it brought back memories of The Exorcist. Now, The Exorcist, as I said, was a scary movie, and it was also shocking. This one's not so much a shocking movie, but it was just as scary as The Exorcist. When I saw Zelda shoot up out of her bed and start talking to the mother in that dream, wow, I mean, oh, I had nightmares again. I was about 12 or 13 when I saw this one. And I completely boycotted the movie for many, many years because of the reason of Zelda and because of just how freaky the whole movie is. I got this a few years ago. I watched it again, and I'll tell you what, it doesn't lose its impact as far as freaking you out is concerned. Atmospherically, this is one of the best horror movies ever made. Very, very underrated. The acting was good. The cinematography was brilliant. I think it's one of the best horror movies made. Certainly one of the freakiest horror movies made. And this really reminded me why I loved horror. And it just took me back to the days where I was watching The Exorcist for the first time, and it just freaked me out. And it was kind of a feeling that you want to sleep with the lights on because, yeah, I mean, it really does crawl under your skin and, yeah, blows you away. So that's another very, very important film to me. Not necessarily my favourite horror film ever, but it's one that changed me completely as far as far as my horror movie experience is concerned. Then, after the Pet Sematary, it really went downhill for me. I was massive into American horror, and I kept watching movies that were just utter crap, and I was losing faith big time in my horror genre. I'd go to the video shop with my father. I was from about 12 years old to about 16. I'd go to the video shop with my father. I'd get a horror movie. I'd watch it, and I'd be disappointed. It got so ridiculous. I was disappointed with pretty much every horror movie I rented. And my father would laugh at me saying, "Did you think that one was crap?" And I'd say yes, and he'd go, "I thought so." So it was really a laughing joke, the horror genre, and that's what American horror has become. Then on the verge of giving up, I came across an article on IMDb talking about this movie from outside the United States. It was from France. And I've been told that, I read about it, it was so graphic, so horrific, and, you know, that American horror films just don't make movies like this anymore. So I thought, I'm going to give this one a go. This was before I was into subtitled movies. And so I watched it, and I was blown away, and my passion for horror came streaming back. And this is the French masterpiece called Inside. I saw this one before Martyrs, so while Martyrs blew me away, this one just stays in the memory because of the fact I just didn't think horror movies were made like this anymore. Just sheer brutality, violence was extremely graphic, and the directors of this film were not scared to show anything, and it was the fact that they loved the horror genre. They weren't making horror movies just for money, they weren't dumbing it down for a broader audience, they were just making horror movies for the fact of the love of horror, and that they were going to truly horrify you. So I saw this movie, I fell in love with it. This is my favourite horror movie of all time. It is absolutely brilliant, and this is the reason why the revival of the horror genre came through this film for me. It just completely renewed my hope, and ever since I watched this movie, I've been in love with French horror. And as you all know, French horror plays such a big part of my horror-loving life, and so this is where it all started, and this will forever have a very special place for me. It's Inside. It is the best horror movie ever made, in my opinion, and it plays such a big part in my renewed value in the horror genre. So if it wasn't for this film, who knows, maybe I would have gone to another genre, but it really took off where America was suffering so bad. So if you're like me and you're frustrated with what America are delivering these days, then I would highly recommend you go over to the French and you check out some of these films, because it really is the true meaning of horror. And, you know, Inside, I absolutely love this movie. Alright guys, that's my video for today concerning 3 films that shaped my horror life. Hopefully you found it interesting. Hopefully, maybe you want to do a video, or maybe you want to comment about films that shaped your horror life. Feel free to do so. But yeah, so I thought that would be a little bit different, a little bit interesting. So until next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.